When the college football playoff rankings come out on Tuesday, I think we're going to see the Ohio State Buckeyes sitting there at number one. I do. I mean, that helmet right there, the Buckeyes, number one in the country, is my humble opinion. We'll see what the committee thinks, but I think that's where they stand right now with the best resume in the country. Now, took care of business yesterday, a little bit of a sneaky spot, tricky spot, at Wisconsin. Final score, Ohio State 24, the Badgers 10. This had trap game written all over it, but still like dust, I rise. Still like smoke, I rise. I don't know the quote, but Ohio State got it done. Make sure you subscribe right here. College football, only college football. Your Buckeyes now got a lot to play for. Ohio State fans, hit that subscribe button on the channel. We're going to talk a lot about them the rest of the way, all the way up to that crash course game against Michigan. Can't wait to have you all a part of this. Make sure you're dialed in. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at JD Pacala. Great way for us to kind of stay up with each other the rest of this show, or the rest of this season outside of this show. Appreciate y'all for that. Like I said, trap game written all over it. Letdown spot, emotional win. Took everything you had against Penn State in Columbus. We were there. It was a physical match. Found a way to get it done. Took a lot out of your team, you would imagine. Then you got to go on the road. Play a physical Wisconsin Badger football team, well coached from a coach who actually went to Ohio State. So, I don't know if you want to play that up too much, but you have to imagine, probably didn't hurt the motivation factor for Luke Fickell and company. Backup quarterback for Wisconsin. And the reason why I think that's a little bit of a disadvantage in some ways, obviously it's not the main guy. It's not Tanner Mordecai out there for Wisconsin, which from a gameplay standpoint probably helps you if you're Ohio State, but you don't have quite as much film on Braden Locke if you're Ohio State. Now you have some, but I'm just saying there's a little bit less to go off of. Regardless, way too much entertainment value if you're an Ohio State Buckeye fan, but you got it done. You got it done, and you held Wisconsin to 10 points. And we're seeing this now. There's a certain formula for Ohio State. And you wish that it was a little bit better execution from Ohio State, especially from Kyle McCord. 2 interceptions, the lost fumble. Still was 17 for 26 with 226 and 2 touchdowns, both to the freak show that is Marvin Harrison Jr., who we'll talk about here in a second. But the formula feels like, hey, we're going to get ours offensively, whatever that looks like. If it's 25, great. 24 in this game. If it's 30-something, great. If it's 40-something, hey, now we're really working, but probably living more in that 20s and 30s range the last couple of games at least. But the defense is going to squeeze the freaking life out of you with how aggressive we are, with how much havoc we wreak, that as soon as we get a leg up on you, that's it. We're not a team that you're going to be able to really climb out of a ditch against. That's the kind of, I think, approach that Ohio State is playing with right now, and they're executing it to a T. Now, you wish, again, going back to the offense, you wish the execution was at a little bit higher level. Kyle McCord kind of had a rough day at the office with those 3 turnovers. But Marvin Harrison Jr., 6 receptions, over 100 yards yet again, 2 touchdowns. Mr. Can't Guard Me. He is, in my opinion, the flex seal that you just slap on whatever you want if you're Ohio State, and that's the problem solver. Hey, we're having issues moving the football. We're having issues getting in the end zone. That's okay. Throw it to 18. Hey, draw one up for 18, draw a crossing pattern, set a pick for him, a pseudo pick, if you will, with Cade Stover, get him the ball in space, and let him be special. Let's not overthink this. This is the differentiator. You let your very best player impact the game as much as possible, and Ohio State, to their credit, they have not run away from that. They've been very, very clear about trying to get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. and let him dictate the terms of the game. That's what great teams do. It's what great staffs do. You drop winners for your best player. Now, going back to Kyle McCord. We did a post-game video that's on the On 3 Roundtable channel from last week when Ohio State beat Penn State. And we did it with Spencer Holbrook of Letterman Row. Spencer Holbrook, program guy through and through. He's the man. Make sure you follow him on all the socials. But he said something that I think is 1,000% on the money. He made a comp that I think is so true. So full disclaimer, this is Spencer Holbrook's comp. I'm just going to regurgitate it to you. He compared Kyle McCord to what Stetson Bennett was for Georgia in 2021. Now, we're not comparing that Georgia defense to this Ohio State defense, but the formula, I think, is pretty similar. Kyle McCord, he's not asked to go score 40. He's not asked to go make every single deep throw in a tight window. He's asked to operate the offense, to have him in the right play, to get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. when it's time to get him the ball, and to be efficient. And you saw him do a version of that yesterday. The 3 turnovers, I mean, you just try and delete that from the mindset. You just try and wash that away. You probably go watch the Penn State tape again if you're Kyle McCord, or maybe the YouTube highlights, just to kind of remind yourself that you are actually that dude. That's who I think he is right now. He's not necessarily the guy who's going to go win you football games, although he's shown at times he can operate those kind of drives. Check the Notre Dame game. But with what they have offensively, with the weapons they have and the way they play defensively, like, he just has to kind of keep things on schedule, has to keep things on pace, which is weird to say about Ohio State because that's not what we're used to with Ohio State. But having TreVeyon Henderson back in the fold yesterday, like, he brought a counterpunch to Marvin Harrison Jr. Because you would have to imagine at some point in time, whether it's the college football playoff, whether it's Michigan, whoever it is, there has to be some point in time where a defense just says, look, man, however many it takes, we're going to do everything in our power to overcommit to not letting it be 18 that beats us. If somebody else beats us, hat tip. But it can't be 18. Now, is that day actually going to come where they can stop Marvin Harrison Jr.? I don't know. But you want to be ready for that day. And TreVeyon Henderson running the rock the way he did yesterday makes you feel a lot better about that situation. 24 carries, 162 yards, a touchdown to put the game on ice. Felt good to see that if you're an Ohio State fan. Felt good to know that you have someone else offensively that can throw a counterpunch to what Marvin Harrison Jr. brings to the table. Because just schematically, you can't play the run and the pass as equally well play in to play out. Like, obviously, that's the hope if you're a defense, but I'm just telling you, if someone is crushing you on the outside, you have to give them more attention with the safety. You're probably going to trigger a little bit less quickly for the linebacker because you know that crossing route from Marvin Harrison Jr., if you trigger too quickly, he comes right behind you, you got problems. So, to be able to keep them honest with the run game and be able to even set up Marvin Harrison Jr. with TreVeyon Henderson now getting back healthy, really, really welcome sight if you're an Ohio State fan. Going back to the formula. Going to wreak havoc. Going to make you react to us defensively. And the offense is going to get theirs, and that's going to be how they win. But, like, I think we really have to, again, give the defense their credit. Because as an offense, you turn the ball over 3 times, you should be staring down the barrel of potentially losing that football game. That was never the case, in my opinion, from what Ohio State did defensively. And we said it last week during a show that was live, so make sure you're tuned into the live shows, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern. We said it yesterday, or rather this week, this defense under Jim Knowles. Last year, I think they were conversational. I think they kind of knew what to do. I think they had a feeling for what was the right thing to do, assignment in and assignment out. But we saw those big coverage busts. We saw those big plays happen against this team. Why? Because they weren't fluent. This year, I think they're fluent. And when you're fluent, you don't have to think. You just react. You just speak. You speak the language. That's what they are right now defensively. They can react. They can let their ball players go play ball because they got dogs in the house on Ohio State defensively. They've always had dogs. Now, you're just able to turn them loose a little bit more, and we're seeing that happen now week in and week out. The Penn State game last week, the Wisconsin game this week, they are the initiators. They are the enforcers. Again, they make you react to them. They create havoc. That's the Ohio State formula right now, and they're a big reason why you can play that formula. You can't score in the 20s and turn the ball over 3 times and still get a win if your defense isn't forcing the issue like they did yesterday. So I think that speaks to what they put together from a culture standpoint. We said it last week on the field at Ohio State, real sense of urgency, real feeling of positive desperation, not negative desperation of, oh, I hope we win, but like, hey, this means a lot to us. We want to go get this done with every fiber of our being. We are desperate to win this game. Let's go get it done. I think you saw that again yesterday. Not as pretty, not as, highlight reel worthy all the time, but still got it done. Speaks to the talent roster-wise. You can't play that kind of defense if you don't assemble that kind of roster. You can't be so schematically complex if you don't have those kind of guys to be as versatile. Same thing with the offense, with how they operate, with Marvin Harrison Jr. getting the rock and with TreVeyon Henderson running the ball and the offensive line kind of doing their thing to that degree in the run game. And I think it speaks to, again, the maturation of Jim Knowles' defense. So the task to me going forward now is getting Kyle McCord as comfortable and as confident as possible. You can look back on what he did against Notre Dame, look back on what he did against Penn State, hang your hat on that. But we understand now, when it comes to the game against Michigan, this offense needs to be as versatile as possible for that game. Because Michigan, that's probably going to be the game if we're kind of reading the tea leaves here and understanding chalk to potentially hold. That's the game that will once again probably determine the college football playoff. At least one from the Big Ten, like the conference champions, probably coming from that game, barring something from Penn State doing that against Michigan. And I think you also feel a certain way about maybe the Heisman Trophy for Marvin Harrison Jr. A little bit of a subplot there. Going back to what I said, has to be a thing where you build his confidence. I think maybe you try and be a little bit more pass-friendly these upcoming weeks if you're allowed to, if you're able to push the ball downfield vertically. I think you try and do that. I'm not saying what that reporter said against, the James Franklin approach, or the question for James Franklin, where he's like, hey, just chuck the ball deep, just kind of put it on tape, have your quarterback do it. I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting you be aggressive downfield, so when it comes time for that game against Michigan, there's that comfort level there for Kyle McCord. I think he can do it. I think it's a matter of getting everything working cohesively from a in-game perspective. So I'm excited to see that for Ohio State. Don't let the snapshot now of previous Ohio State teams, what we think Ohio State's supposed to be. They're scoring 40 a game. They got a Heisman Trophy finalist kind of quarterback. That's who Ohio State is. That's how they have to live to be successful and be a college football playoff team. I don't think that's this team. I think they can very much still be a playoff team with this formula. Edgy, physical, get the ball to the best player in college football that wears number 18 and plays wide receiver for you. Let Kyle McCord be efficient. Get him as comfortable as possible, but that formula, I think, is good to win a lot of football games. I think it's going to be good when it comes to November for them to compete for what they want to compete for. That Michigan game holds the key. It feels like, yet again, for the Buckeyes. I can't wait to watch it. We're going to talk about it when it gets here. We're going to talk about your Buckeyes a lot here the rest of the way. So make sure you're dialed in. Make sure you're subscribed. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at JD Pakel. Hey, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.